let's get some more hog watching.
He's a sovereign citizen.
They don't.
A man allegedly refused to pull over. He claimed he's a sovereign citizen.
They don't recognize the government's authority.
I don't know what the hell law book you're reading, man, but it doesn't apply to me. I'm going in.
No, you're not going in.
Don't touch me.
Why have your party allowed our Magna Carta, our rights, our common law to be ignored?
My fellow Canadians, I address you today as your Queen, Commander-in-Chief, and Head of Government.
That's not actually the Queen of Canada. In fact, she's a woman named Romana Didulo, a YouTuber and minor internet celebrity who's declared herself Queen. This might seem like just more delusional nonsense on the internet, but Didulo has over 70,000 followers. More worryingly, she's tried to incite them into violence against anyone facilitating COVID vaccinations for children. She's not just some lone eccentric with a webcam. She's part of a fringe ideology known as the sovereign citizen movement, which has surged during the pandemic.
All of the evidence to prove that coronavirus is an absolute pandemic hoax, that you are operating illegally and you are committing crimes against humanity.
Their bizarre anti-government conspiracy theories have spread like wildfire. Sovereign citizens believe that they're above the law, that their ideology is the key to fighting against the so-called COVID pandemic, and who are showing a dangerous potential for violence.
So we're here at Edinburgh Castle. We're taking our power back today. We have seized the building. We are here. We are peaceful. We are sovereign people.
In August 2021, a group of anti-lockdown protesters stormed Edinburgh Castle in Scotland, shouting that they were seizing the castle to fight tyranny and restore the rule of law. They claimed their justification for this was Article 61 of Magna Carta. That's a 13th century legal document that guaranteed the rights of a specific group of 25 English barons to seek redress from the king if they felt they were being governed unjustly.
This belongs to the people. There's an Article 61 in the Magna Carta.
Article 61 itself was removed from Magna Carta within a year, and although Magna Carta is a crucial part of how English law developed, it's not some magical document that supersedes laws of ownership, taxation, or public order.
There's only two things the government fears: Article 61 and unity of the people.
It seems like it's almost like a deliberate misreading of the Magna Carta from history, but also in the US of the rules around the kind of 1868 legislation as well.
This is very much the essence of sovereign citizen ideology. They take random bits of legal and historical jargon and spin it into an argument where, by simply declaring themselves sovereign, they supposedly become above the law, operating under an entirely different set of rules to everyone else.
Sovereign citizens believe that they, not judges, juries, or law enforcement, get to decide which laws to follow and which to ignore, and they don't think they should have to pay taxes.
Based on these fraudulent arguments, sovereign citizens try to claim the government is illegitimate and insist that they themselves are the true source of authority, often even issuing their own ID documents.
And everything you need here to understand that I don't need a license, registration, or any documentation to travel from point A to point B. It is a right that has been preserved by the Supreme Court and the law of the land.
Pre-pandemic, it was quite a quaint conspiracy movement, so it was a lot of people trying to use this to get out of parking tickets, speeding fines.
What was once an obscure ideology has become supercharged during the pandemic, finding new followers in the conspiracy-obsessed anti-lockdown movements that believe that coronavirus is some kind of plot against the people.
The pandemic and COVID accelerated this movement, not because of the pandemic per se, but because of the government mandates that came along with the pandemic. And there was a certain segment of people who did not want to follow the government mandates, and the sovereign citizen ideology, the rhetoric, the ideas within that movement served as, in their minds, a good excuse to not have to follow the mandates.
From North America and Europe to Australia, New Zealand, and Singapore, extremists have latched onto the ideology in the misguided belief that it gives them the means to fight against vaccines, lockdowns, and other COVID-related restrictions.
My dad died from COVID, by the way.
My dad died as well. Death happens.
What the fuck?
Hey!
In the UK, sovereign citizens have launched physical attacks on COVID testing centres, forcibly shut down vaccination clinics, and the leader of the opposition Labour Party has been hounded on the street by mobs screaming about COVID restrictions, common law, and Magna Carta.
Why have your party allowed our Magna Carta, our rights, our common law to be ignored?
Peace constables, peace officers, common law constables. These are the names sovereign citizens give their own self-appointed police forces, whose authority, they claim, trumps that of the actual cops.
You are lawfully empowered to employ other members of the public as peace officers and to detain and arrest anyone you see breaching the public peace.
That means the movement calls on them to enforce their own version of reality.
This is called conspiracy theorists are creating their own nation. Here it is, Chad. Here's a link.
I understand what you're trying to say there.
Some are even taking their own zip ties to protests to carry out arrests.
Can you explain to me what this is?
This is a PO, peace officer. I have tie wrap and my card.
You have hand ties?
Yeah. Tie wrap.
Who gave you hand ties?
I took it by myself.
You brought them yourself?
Exactly.
Of course, none of these pretend constables are actually police officers, any more than someone doing cosplay is actually a superhero. But as tempting as it might be to dismiss the sovereign citizens as a bunch of noisy but relatively harmless idiots, that would only be half right.
Don't discount or ignore these people because they're willing to kill and be killed for these beliefs.
Since late 2021, a group of hardliners within the movement, calling themselves Alpha Team Assemble, have been holding combat training sessions in the UK, supposedly preparing themselves for militant direct action against the state.
For anyone doubting the Alpha Men Assemble, do not. These people are true. These people are fighting for our children and our futures.
Alpha Men Assemble? Oh, no. Okay, all right. We gotta get more deep into this. Oh, my goodness gracious. Oh, my. How did I not learn about this? Oh, we've got ourselves... No, we found ourselves a fucking gold mine, folks. Alpha Men Assemble training camp. Oh, no.
This posturing has got the authorities concerned. Sovereign citizens are routinely expressing violent fantasies about a so-called new...
I used to do that too, chat. I used to punch boards. I was 8. I thought it was cool when I did Taekwondo when I was 8 years old in 1993. And I was taking advanced Taekwondo martial arts strip mall style, okay? And I punched boards. But in the year of our Lord, 2022, to be an adult... Also, I broke more wood than this. This is like one board worth. I broke like 3 boards as an 8-year-old. This is embarrassing.
Citizens are routinely expressing violent fantasies about a so-called Nuremberg 2.0 trial, where the supposed architects of the plandemic...
To be fair, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were all the rage. Okay, You're telling me Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are not... People are not fans of them now? You don't all have crushes on April O'Neil? That wasn't your formative crush? Your favorite... Turtle was not Michelangelo or Raphael if you were, one of those kids. How many Donatello fans do we have in the chat? That's what I want to know. Romeo is a Donatello fan. Get some DSA bonks in the chat. He told me that. They chopped the wood that Ben Shabibo bought from Home Depot. That's what this is for all along? Yeah. TMNT, The Last Ronin, was a huge selling comment last year. Oh, based. I was a Mitch at first, but now I'm older, so Donnie because he's based. Nice.
Will be put on trial for treason.
Leonardo is the worst. Leonardo is the worst turtle by far. Everyone knows that. Leonardo is the worst. If you were a Leonardo fan, I regret to inform you, you were a tryhard and you were probably the teacher's pet. As someone who used to work at a karate studio, we scored 100% the back of those boards so kids could break them easier. Oh yeah, I bet. Raph is the worst? How is Raph the worst? That's just incorrect. All the turtles die except for... Why are you spoiling me?
Genocide or serious crimes against humanity and executed.
Police working undercover since April say they earned the trust of alleged anti-government sovereign citizens and were able to foil their alleged plans to kill cops.
Once the first kidnapping and execution was accomplished, they would be compelled to keep repeating their actions, kidnapping and killing multiple officers.
I object to the entire proceedings of this court.
The sovereign citizen practice of trying to enforce their
beliefs.
Since late 2021, a group of hardliners within the movement, calling themselves Alpha Team Assemble, have been holding combat.
You got me derailed from Alpha Team Assemble, the coolest new thing we've seen. Alpha Team, and you got me derailed. How dare you, chat?
Training sessions in the UK, supposedly preparing themselves for militant direct action against the state.
For anyone doubting the Alpha Men Assemble, do not. These people are true. These people are fighting for our children and our futures.
This posturing has got the authorities concerned. Sovereign citizens are routinely expressing violent fantasies about a so-called Nuremberg 2.0 trial, where the supposed architects of the plandemic will be put on trial for treason, genocide, or serious crimes against humanity, and executed.
Police working undercover since April say they earned the trust of alleged anti-government sovereign citizens and were able to foil their alleged plans to kill cops.
Once the first kidnapping and execution was accomplished, they would be compelled to keep repeating their actions, kidnapping and killing multiple officers.
I object to the entire proceedings of this court.
The sovereign citizen practice of trying to enforce their own version of the law can clearly lead in dangerous directions. In 2010, police officers in Arkansas stopped a car driven by Jerry Kane, a sovereign citizen who gave seminars teaching people that they don't need to pay tax. Kane's 16-year-old son drew an AK-47 and murdered the two officers.
They're both dead now. Law enforcement comes in contact with them fairly regularly because a lot of the sovereigns aren't following traffic laws, and so they get pulled over, and that can be an especially dangerous time for a police officer.
And Terry Nichols, one of the masterminds of the Oklahoma bombing, which killed 168 people, was heavily inspired by sovereign citizen ideas. The FBI classes sovereign citizens as one of the most serious domestic terrorism threats facing the US. One estimate put the number of hardcore sovereigns at 100,000, with 3 times that number in the broader movement.
This is something that law enforcement around the country is worried about, simply because, again, they never know when they might encounter these people just simply by doing their jobs.
The anti-vax sovereign citizens already have blood on their hands. In September 2021, a group of sovereign citizens in Ireland burst into a hospital ICU ward to rescue an elderly patient, a fellow sovereign citizen who had COVID-19.
It's all your choice, Joe.
Yes.
If you stay here, they're gonna fucking kill you, Joe.
Yes.
These people are not going to help you. It's okay. It's okay. I have my rights because you are killing people.
Citing their usual arguments about common law, they removed the man against the advice of medical staff.
Stephen, I'm very worried about you. And I want you to stay. What he's saying is wrong and very dangerous. And I think he's endangering your life.
The man later died.
Here is a direct...
Bro, put those people in prison for murder. Seriously.
Direct link between someone motivated by sovereign citizen ideologies and kind of the blending of anti-vaccine ideologies as well to kind of push someone towards making a decision that in the end was fatal towards them. So that really does show the danger.
They should have not. Okay, listen, chat. This is going to be unpopular with some people in the chat, but in my view, this guy was having a psychotic delusion and should have been involuntarily committed. I mean, this other guy should be arrested for enabling it. Like when you are sitting there sick and your oxygen levels are down, your ability to use your rational brain is impaired. They shouldn't have let this guy go. I understand that people are like, but my personal bodily autonomy says that he should have been able to be deluded and scammed to his own death by sovereign citizens. Fuck you. No, that's my Chad philosophical response. Consequentialist ethics, you're out. You're out. I reject your ethics and substitute them for my own. As someone who's been involuntarily committed for substance abuse more than once in the past, I fully agree. For substance abuse? Compared to you don't have enough oxygen and some guy's like, Jesus.
People being swayed by those with sovereign citizen beliefs as well.
One of the trademark strategies the sovereign citizens use to intimidate and harass their perceived enemies is a technique known as paper terrorism. That's where sovereign citizens inundate their targets with a flood of threatening legal documents in an attempt to bully them into submission.
Paper terrorism is essentially creating members of the sovereign citizen movement, creating their own writs, creating their own kind of legal notices, and serving people who they deem to be offenders.
Now, the new wave of sovereign citizens have adopted this tactic in their quest to fight the so-called plandemic.
So you're about UK Medical Alliance, which is all about the other UK Alliance of Medical Freedom of Alliance, the Declaration for the Protection of Children, right? Moto Proprio, you've probably not heard of this one. Well, the Pope is head of the businesses in the across the world.
With many embracing the strategy as their great hope in stopping the COVID vaccine altogether. This has led to them targeting schools, courtrooms and hospitals, along with scientists, government officials and other individuals associated with the vaccination rollout with their bogus legal papers.
Paper terrorism is an old sovereign citizen tactic from the 90s, where basically if you inundate people with enough phony and fraudulent lawsuits, it intimidates them into changing the law or changing rules.
And the only way this strategy of paper terrorism ever works is by wearing down their opponents until they eventually give up. But that's clearly not going to happen when it comes to their ultimate goal here of stopping the global rollout of coronavirus vaccines. Already there are signs of growing frustration within.
One of my favorite things is the fact that this is the only substantive political channel. Bebela, bebela, get fucked, bebela. That actually like participates with their chat and like hangs out. That's, you know, other than Hassan. Bebela. So you get to come and watch me.
The movement at the failure of this paper terrorism to bear fruit, fueling calls from militants for more radical action.
They see the world in a completely different way now. It's no longer just a case of single issues such as vaccine mandates, mask mandates. They now view that as one facet of a much larger problem around the global.
I'm sure, chat, that Mike from Poop has just decided to come and hang out with us because April 15th, he just found the channel for the first time. And he just happened to be from Poop. I recently endorsed this stream to a community of my peers as one of the best topics on left-leaning political stream on Twitch. I will try not to yell about the Democrats being scum so angrily all the time. I'm sorry, chat. Sometimes when I'm, you know, covering the news, I do occasionally lose my temper because of how dumb something is or how evil it is. I will try to be more ice cold, you know, ice cold. Will humanity ever recover from the severe mass psychosis? No. Social media is just making all this stuff worse.
Masters who are, you know, pulling everyone straight.
I could have sworn Mike from Poop was an old person. Yeah, I'm sure they are. One of the things that's really funny to me is I think the lowest form of life is the person that engages with Twitch drama as their primary form of consuming content online. Like, god damn, that's pathetic. Like, people used to make fun of people for watching like the Kardashians, or Real Housewives or 90 Day. Although 90 Day is depraved. I fucking hate 90 Day. Holy shit. It makes me feel bad. When I watch 90 Day Fiancé, it just makes me feel bad. Like, it's terrible people being terrible, and like, I don't know. I just can't get pleasure from it. It's too cringe. It's too bad. Like, I hate watching predatory people from like developed countries going after like people from the third world or developing countries, and I hate watching developing country people like feigning interest in these people because their own life conditions aren't that great and they're trying to like make their life better and their family's lives better. It's just so gross watching people like leverage their money or their citizenship over somebody in these abusive dynamics. Ugh, it's gross, man. Very likely 1/4 of your chat are Twitch drama freaks. No, we know. I know that you can look at advanced analytics. No more than 2% of my people are hate watchers. I've looked at the advanced analytics. 85% of people watch me, also watch Hassan. My top overlaps are like Hassan, XQC, Majority Report, Denims, Mafia Jinx, Frogan, like Keffels, like cool people. Will Neff. Like, the people who watch me are cool. There's no scum here. Carter, yeah, that's another one. Exactly. There's no scum here. Mo Brooks, Hogwatch. Oh no. All right, let's get back to this conspiracy theory shit.
changed, they're not going to stop.
And with those lost down the rabbit hole of COVID conspiracies becoming ever more detached from reality and convinced that they're a law unto themselves.
Oh, and of course, chat, VO. Now, if you want to talk about top... Just kidding. Everyone should follow VO, though. VO's great. Mike's my favorite, not gonna lie. Every time I hear Assad mauled at chatters or talk ironically 100% of the time, it makes me appreciate... I don't think he does that. This is incredible. We've got ourselves some real content.
At this anti-vax meet-up and training session at the weekend, social distance...
This is like me when I was 10 years old. I thought this was so badass. With nunchucks, hi-ya! I would do my like forms, ki-yi, ki-yi. Like I thought that was so cool.
At this anti-vax meet-up and training session at the weekend,
this is like this is literally. I'm part of Alpha Men Assemble. This is our arm. Look at his arm form. His wrist is literally limp. His wrist is literally limp. What level of belt did you get in Taekwondo? I want to say it was green or purple. So obviously I only did it for a couple years, or like a year. It's funny to think he knew there was a camera there too. Like this is deliberately shown off. Like his wrists are literally limp.
At this anti-vax meet-up and training session at the weekend, social distancing, as you'd expect, wasn't a big thing.
We gotta resist.
Yeah, of course you have.
I think I have green belts for sure.
The group are called Alpha Men Assemble. They have about 7,500 members on their Telegram channel. This is one of a number of training sessions they've organised around the country recently. It's a mixed bunch with a mix of views. What unites them? A belief that the pandemic is an orchestrated exercise in curtailing freedom, and that vaccinations are an instrument of superstate control. So this group is called Alpha Men Assemble, and the Alpha Men and the Alpha Women have assembled here by a lake in Walsall, just north of Birmingham. They say they're doing this to provide stewardship at anti-vax demonstrations, but there's also talk of direct action in the weeks to come.
When you consider the Roman legions and the military, you see them all marching in a formation, right?
One of the trainers, Gary Ross, is ex-military, now works as a medic. In terms of the kind of military-style training stuff, what's the rationale behind that?
All that is team building.
Yeah.
It's team building. We're at the end of the day, we're a number of individuals.
Sorry.
We're a number of individuals who don't know each other, and like any military unit, you have to bond and come together to work as one. So that's all it is. It's just about bonding, bringing people together. There's no unarmed combat ninja-style warrior stuff because we're all lawful.
It looks strange from the outside, I have to say.
Of course it looks strange. Yeah, of course it looks strange. And you've got a body of men and women moving as one.
These are the people that are going to round you up. They're going to have they're going to have your Bernie Sanders voter lists, and you're going to be rounded up. And these are the guys and gals that are going to do it. When you have free weekends because you lost custody of your kids, long-term bipolar knows. Bro, his neck just goes completely into his face. There's no point where his face ends and his neck begins. It's just like it's like a one sleeve. I can't believe Hassan is going to Coachella when he not only doesn't listen to music, he hates it. I don't think Hassan hates music, and he was a club promoter, so of course he wants to go to Coachella. That's where, people are. We're all individuals.
One up and down.
So, camaraderie and self-defense, yes, but to what end? The groups see themselves as being on the vanguard of a physical struggle.
This just perfectly illustrates how goddamn fractured, isolated, and atomized society is from the collapse of social capital that a bunch of out-of-shape dweeby ass pussified middle-aged men find purpose, belonging, and meaning in LARPing as SAS commandos in a public park. Unironically, this is exactly how fascism recruits despondent, hopeless, listless fucking losers. They're building a militarized, mobilized paramilitary army. This is a case study. Absolutely. Absolutely. This is fascist organizing. Absolutely. And it's comical when it begins. But when the billionaires and the rich need something to push back against a mobilizing left-wing movement, these are the people they grab up. These are the people they grab up.
With the authorities.
You were surprised how much he actually knew when looking at set times yesterday? Yeah, I mean, he's on Insta. He can't totally hate music.
A war. The Daily Mail had an undercover reporter at the same event. Off camera, Gary spoke to the assembled and said this.
It's very draining mentally and physically, this war that we're fighting at the minute. And it is a war. It's not a war that I was used to when I signed up in the military, where you had two opposing sides. This is a war unknown in history, because this is a war being waged on its people by its governments.
The group produces their own videos, which they post on a messaging service, Telegram. Back in December, a member called Samuel, who described himself as the group's leader, posted this. Who wants to arrest a corrupt paedophile MP or a corrupt police constable or even a judge? I'm game if you are. Yes. There was a degree of diversity in terms of background, ethnicity and...
What was that? God, come on. You can't be serious.
Yes. There was a degree of diversity in terms of background, ethnicity and politics. But what brings them together, as with similar groups in America, a profound distrust of institutions. Central and local government, the media, the legal system. A recurring theme is the damage they see being done to children in particular. We first met Alpha Men Assembled a couple of days beforehand, when they joined others outside the law courts in Exeter. The case being heard inside has become totemic for these activists. It's a complicated, newsworthy case, which involves local social services. The magistrate...
Of course! It's divorced dad shit! Every fucking time!
...has imposed reporting restrictions, which is interpreted by the activists as us trying to cover something up. Matt, a builder from near Leeds, is an Alpha Men Assemble member.
Be outside these places and let's start holding these people to account. We start with the media, we start with social services, we start low down, and we hold everybody to account. The MPs, everything. It's all corrupt. The system is corrupt. And we have to improve it for those kids. Around us. We have to. There's no future for anybody until this, when we're like this, until this is millions. And if we are not going to be millions here today, then we may as well all go home, lay down, and let communism rule.
Okay, so...
And there you go, chat. It's a fascist ideology. One of the things that is part of fascism is this kind of generic anti-leftism. The idea that communism is in charge in Britain, the most voraciously imperialist capitalist country in the world, is so batshit crazy. The Conservative Party has been in control of the UK continuously for well over 10 years. They've had 3 straight Conservative prime ministers, and they're talking about communism. Right acts on aspects of left's politics, yet the system is corrupt. Yes, then white dominated, well, not in the way these hogs and fascists think. And these hogs, they think it's minorities, they think it's something else, but it's the system is corrupt because of capital and the ownership class. Not communists, you baffling buffoon. This is why education and knowing how your government history works is so important. I think parents, teachers, and people who care about our kids' education need to boycott the schools, the state, and the White House until they start teaching our kids factual history. You're going to get more factual history at a public school than you will at a private school. Communists.
After the demonstration, the crowd marches to the offices of Devon County Council. Many in the crowd are part of the common law.
I have a hardcore right-wing friend that said the CIA is run by communists. See, what your friend is what is happening is your friend is understanding that the CIA is a profoundly evil organization. But his brain has been so programmed by American propaganda from the CIA that he blames communists. What he really means to say is the CIA is a fascist organization and serving capital. But he's scared. He can't allow himself to say some commie stuff like that because he's been programmed. That's what fascism is for, chat. Fascism is there to capture that disenchantment, that alienation about capitalism and turn it into an energy and a force defending it. It's like fascism is the Aikido of capitalism. It redirects the energy that's rightfully building up over the contradictions of the system and uses it in defense of that system. Incredible.
Sovereign citizens movement. It's an alternative pseudo-legal system that activists believe kicks in when authorities are acting against the people. The movement has so-called common law constables, which some of the alpha men double up as. At the council offices, they, quote, serve papers on officials, a dossier they've compiled about vaccinations.
Well, what it is, we've got some papers to serve.
Yeah, I'm happy to take them for you.
Well, we've got some papers to serve.
What appointment? It's public building.
There's proof in there with over 100 freedom of information requests that the coronavirus has been proven fake.
Okay.
Some of the people we spoke to at the demo had first-hand experiences of social services.
By the way, like this, one of the things that's really funny is nobody cares about COVID anymore. It's real. It's killing thousands every day. No one gives a fuck. They've moved on. Even in my own head, in a certain way, I'm just so exhausted over it that I just don't care as much as I did 4 or 5 months ago. I still wear a mask a lot, and you should see the looks I get. I wear it occasionally, you know, but I mean, it's endemic. It's never going to end. I don't know what else to do other than to continue to get booster shots when you become eligible. I think that's the best thing to do. Humans move on pretty quick from shit. Absolutely. We have to. We're evolved to kind of just move on, you know? That's the reality of life is, you know, you can't sit there just wallowing. You have to move on.
Their mistrust of state institutions appears to go back a long way, which is part of the reason why protecting children is so central to the narrative.
They are, as humans, raping us in every area. Financially, morally.
How come many Normans can even define communism? We've never had a communist country on the planet. If I say that, I will trigger every centrist and every single liberal on the planet instantly. But it's a factual statement. Communism is an end state, theoretical state, a moneyless, classless society that's stateless. You can't have a communist state. It's a contradiction. Now, does that mean... Now, why? So when you talk about that theoretical state, what are you talking about? You're talking about the highest level of human development, when we need almost no social control and every human being is valued. It's theoretical. It's like absolute zero. We've never reached absolute zero. We have never had communism. But the purpose of it is to describe a horizon where we reorganize human social relations. Anytime I ask someone that's anti-communist, they basically say communism is when state kills everyone. Yeah. I trigger people by telling them heaven is a communist state. Of course it is. Is it stateless? Is it moneyless? Is it classless? Then there you go. Now, we have had socialism, which is a transition, an attempt to transition away from a capitalist organization of the means of production and socio-political systems. Anytime socialism is tried, I think America's destroyed it unless it helps corporations and they attempt to destroy it. We've also never had any socialist states without Western persecution either. Of course! Heavens are oligarchs in heaven. Heavens are not oligarchs. We're not going to get into theology right now. Every time we make a step forward, let's always talk someone or some 3-letter org going to take us 2 steps back. I love seeing the anti-communist socialists on Reddit. Incredible small brain. If you're a socialist, you're a communist. Communism is especially now that we don't have the Soviet Union anymore. When those distinctions between communist parties and socialist parties were based on your opinion of the Eastern Bloc. If you were more aligned with the Warsaw Pact countries, you called your political party a communist party. That doesn't exist anymore. It's anachronistic to talk about that distinction. Which is why whenever somebody's an anti-communist online, they're always bringing up like the Harlem Door and shit. It's like that, dude. Like that was 100 fucking years ago, practically. Can you move on? Can we talk about like, I don't know, more central planning, more state-owned enterprises? Can we talk about employee-owned? We can talk about the Meidner Plan. Can we talk about increasing social democracy and democratizing our economy? No one's talking about the Eastern Bloc anymore. They're all oligarch hellscapes now. Zizek has a good about why he still calls himself a communist. It's pretty funny. I might actually watch that. I think that's actually a pretty good idea.
They're splitting our families up. They're taking our children. All councils. See, the government are just people on the TV. These are the people carrying out their dirty work.
So everyone from council workers up is fair game. This man, who said his name was Danny, describes himself as a common law constable. He says he's also involved with so-called paedophile hunter groups who bait alleged paedophiles online, then conduct citizens' arrests. The common theme is that state institutions and the law...
I noticed a trend of crystal hippies being drawn into right-wing stuff, the so-called conspirituality, which merges two grounds that previously didn't overlap much. Well, right, those weird crystal mommies used to be Green Party voters. They used to be Jill Steins. Maybe they would have, Bernie Sanders really appealed to them, you know? But that has definitely been taken over by the, like, anti-COVID fascist right-wing shit. Because they've been sucked into the romantic nationalism of blood and soil shit, of the save the children conspiracy theories, of the... They already kind of reject our society in a sense, right? Its mechanism, its rationality, and I'm not using that as like a positive descriptor, just talking about the cleavage between spirituality and rationality, right? An industrial society is one that's based on physical laws as opposed to like spiritual laws, right? Or spiritual beliefs. So people who reject that have definitely become more open to the right wing as fascism grows. The occult, spirituality kind of bullshit is also revived, and so a lot of those kind of crystal mommies are going to be attracted to that. They also live in $4 million houses in Santa Cruz and San Francisco, so their fascism is in their economic interest. Oh, that as well.
Are not working for them, and that gives them license to take the law into their own hands.
Yeah, but you've got no power of attorney over him. You can't decide what he can. If he wants to leave, he can leave. You can't stop him.
So, for example, common law activists have advocated for patients with COVID, who are sympathetic to their cause, to be removed from hospital. This activist filmed himself at a hospital in Surrey last year, quote, rescuing an elderly patient. A doctor pleads with the group not to do it.
You are making him unsafe. No, he's taking his oxygen off. He's going to die if we don't put it back on. No, I'm not.
Put your trousers on, my friend. We are going home. You are safe.
And also this case in Ireland. A common law activist helped an elderly man leave a hospital in Donegal. Again, the doctor tries to convince the patient to stay.
You're barely able to breathe there now. We want you to stay to help you.
No, Joe. It's all your choice, Joe.
Yes.
If you stay here, they're going to kill you, Joe.
I'm very worried about you. And I want you to stay. I think he's saying something very dangerous.
Joe McCarran left the hospital, but his health deteriorated. He returned a couple of days later and died. The activists we met have questions to ask themselves about their beliefs and their methods, and we may be criticised for giving them airtime. But the pandemic has disconnected many of us from each other in different ways. The danger for civic society is that for some, that disconnect becomes permanent, becomes potent.